Okay, guys, put that to one side. Okay, we're going to get on with this now. Drive versus ambition. I want you to think about those two things because a lot of people have ambition, but how many people have the drive to get there? And I love Nathan's saying, he says, people speak the Lamborghini, but the actions say Hyundai. Not that there's anything wrong with Hyundai. I think he said Honda. A lot of people say they want it, guys, but they only want it when other people are watching, when they're getting likes and they're getting shares. Do they want it at 9 o'clock on a Friday night when everyone's going out? When you've got to make those sacrifices to do something else that people you know, people your age, people who've had the same wants and desires in theory as you? No, you're not the same. At 2 o'clock in the morning when everyone should be going to sleep, do you want it then? Do you want it that bad then? What about 5 o'clock in the morning? You know, these are the questions you've got to ask yourself. Are you prepared to do it? Or are you going to let yourself be talked into logic? It's not logical. It can't be done. I'm too tired. There's not enough time. Let me tell you, you've got the same time, the same 24 hours in any day as Leonardo, as Galileo, as Steve Jobs, as all these people who changed the world. So you can't ever say you don't have the time. You've got the same as everyone else. What you don't have is the motivation. What you don't have is the understanding that actually it is logical to go through the pain and the hurt. But when you're in that moment of pain and hurt, or when it's easier to say, no, I'm not going to go, you know, and put myself and work hard. I don't deserve that. I deserve to have a good time. You deserve what you work for. That's the truth in life. You deserve what you work for. Let me tell you that ambition is never reached because most people's drive is destroyed by that fear of pain. They think it's going to be hard. They think it's going to be painful. Honestly, that's what stops people from actually doing the hard work. But let me tell you something. Guess what? It is. It's seriously hard. It's seriously painful. But the sadder thing to me is to say that the place that most people's dreams die is in their head. It's a graveyard of people's dreams in their head. And the reason that most people never achieve those dreams is simply because they never start. You know, because of this fear of pain, this fear that somehow it's going to be hard or difficult, which it is. But fear, guys, fear is in the mind. Doesn't make it any less powerful, let me assure you. But it does mean it can be controlled, and it does mean it can be defeated. But to me, there's two sides of pain that not a lot of people really understand. There's the one side of pain, that's the discomfort and the suffering and the burning and the hurt. But there's another side of pain. It's called effort. It's called glory. It's called picking yourself up and going again. It's called if you can find a way to get through the pain, there's something greater on the other side. And if you never, ever tap into that, if you never find its power, it's probably because the first time you felt it, you backed off. The first time you felt that pain, that burn, it hurts, I've got to stop. We give up. It's too much. We rationalize with ourselves to the point where we automatically stop. That's why a bunch of us give up in life so quickly. And it's why kids have a problem finishing things, guys. Because the first time they feel that, that pain, that discomfort, something they don't like, woof, they're gone. Can't do it no more. It's too painful. Not strong enough. Well, suppose I told you that the greatest pain of my life is the reason that I'm here today. Guys, I dare you to challenge your pain. If you want to go through it, I want you to go through it. You're not going to die because of a little bit of pain. You're not going to die. At the end of pain is success. At the end of pain is success. Pain is temporary. It may last for a minute. It may last for an hour. It may last for a day. It may last for a year. But eventually it will subside. And something else will take its place. If you quit, it lasts forever. On the other side of that pain, guys, on the other side of that pain, on the other side of that pain is your promise, the one you wrote down, and the people who you made that promise to, who are waiting for you. My question is, how bad do you want it? Do you want it to the extent, I don't know, have you guys seen Eric Thomas? Eric Thomas is a great speaker on this subject. He talks about the guru who takes the guy out to the water and he puts his head in the water till he's just gasping for air and he just needs to breathe. Until you want it bad enough as you want to breathe in that situation when you're suffocating and drowning, then you know you're going to be ready. You'll know the time, because you can't breathe without following your dreams. And I've been on this path. I have. For me, I had a lot of frustrations in my life. I'm going to talk about that right now. I had a lot of frustrations in my life. But when I was finally able to get things right and create from a business sense, from a culture sense, company sense, a team sense, it was like I could finally breathe. It was like I could finally paint. It was like I was an artist. And I just want that for every single person out there, to be able to get up and have their work as art. That's my point. But I'm going to tell you about the day it all started, the moment, because I can tell you a lot of stuff, guys, right? I can tell you about the companies that I've built. I can tell you about the successes. I can tell you about the failures. And there have been a lot of failures. That's the truth. But I want to tell you about where it started, because for me, that's the day that everything changed. And I've got to give you a bit of the background, so I won't try to bore you too much. But, you know, a lot of people in my position have hard stories. They really, really do. They genuinely have had tough times. And I'm not saying I haven't had tough times, but where I started wasn't a tough place. I had the best of everything. I was lucky. I was lucky enough to have great parents, born in a middle-class family. I didn't live on the streets like Eric Thomas or anyone like that. My life was great. It really was. But it was different. It was different. My mum was Indian, or is Indian. My father is Jewish. I was this mixed-race kid growing up in the 80s in London, which was great when things were going great, but also it had its own nuances. You create your own personality, and people will understand me today when I say, you know, I gravitated towards subculture because I didn't quite fit into the, you know, picture. So I love rap, I love hip hop, and, you know, those are things which sometimes, I don't know, brought people to you in a way which maybe they didn't feel comfortable with those sort of things. And so as a result, you kind of found, you know, you aggregate yourself, you move towards that subculture. So I was a little bit of a loner, but I arrived eventually at my secondary school and I found this sport called rugby. And it was something, sorry guys, everyone who's, can you just mute your microphones because I've got a bit of interference coming through. So if you could just mute, that's cool. Yeah, thanks. So when I arrived at the school and I found this amazing sport, I was suddenly found my passion, and I knew this was something I could be good at. There was no real reason for that thought, you know. I was a little scrawny kid, didn't have the size, didn't have the experience. I never played rugby before, and there have been kids who've been playing rugby since they were 5. But I was romanced, and I suddenly realized this is what I wanted to do. And I went to my rugby coach that day. And I went to my rugby coach and I said to him, at the age of 14, I'm going to be a professional rugby player. He looked at me in that moment and he said to me, you know, you're too small. You're too weak. You don't actually quite have the genetics, do you? I can't tell you about a moment in my life, and there have been bad moments, but I don't think I can tell you about a moment that ripped my heart in half as much as that moment. And maybe I'm oversensitive, whatever. I don't care. What that did that day tore a scar on me so deep that it made me go home, and I cried and I was brokenhearted, but I got angry, and it lit a fire in me which to this day not only hasn't gone out, it's just getting stronger. And I went home and I put up on my wall a quote I found: "Those who fail to prepare must prepare to fail." And every morning I woke up and saw that. And every night I went to bed and I saw that. And I worked hard for the next year intensely, and then for the next 5 years after that. And eventually I left rugby. But I remember after the first year of training hard, that rugby coach brought pre-season to us all. So we had to go do pre-season with him. And when we arrived at pre-season, I was a different animal by that stage. I trained hard for 12 months and I was ready. But no one knew that because I hadn't told anyone, because this for me was something I had to not talk about, because I'd been a talker. It was something I had to do. And something very key happened, and that moment changed my life, and you'll understand a little bit about me. The whistle blew and he screamed at the top of his lungs, "It's time! Play the game!" And at that moment, something in my head just went, no, I'm going to change the game. And that's exactly what happened. The next 12 months, the next 24 months, 36 months, 54, whatever it was, were incredible. I went on a massive journey. This little scrawny kid who wasn't big enough, wasn't strong enough, wasn't fast enough, but who had the belief and focus that he could do it, and was prepared to research and investigate and hack and educate himself and do all the things he had to do to change the game, to change his game, and to move forward. And that was something which, to me, was part of my personality. And I took that forward, and I did that over and over and over again. Unfortunately, I got out of rugby at a young age. It will always be a bit of a regret for me. And people say don't have regrets, but that's a regret. I would have liked to have seen how far I could have gone. There were other lessons I needed to learn along the way. One of the key things in all of these things of having the ups and downs, you know, the highs, the lows, the successes, the failures, is the one thing you must never do is give up. Because if you give up, you lose the chance to learn. And what I've learned is so fantastic as to not only be great for my life, guys, it touches other people's lives. And if you've got that ability or that position to affect anyone's life, however you do it, whether it's you talk or it's you educate, you put back, once you realize you've overcome these issues and these problems, however small, however big, and we're going to talk about that in a second, we're going to talk about game changers. When you realize that, you realize you're doing something for a bigger purpose. And that's the thing that shone through about Legion Excel from day one. This is for a bigger purpose. This isn't just about selling a lot of product. Yes, we are going to sell a lot of product and we're going to be hugely successful. This is about creating a community that believe in bigger principles, mindset growth, you know, that sort of thing. And we're going to put those principles into what we do. And we're not just going to get great sales. We're going to change people's lives, all of us together, not just me to you, you to other people, them to other people. This is the start of something big, because like the fire that was lit that day back at the age of 14, we're going to light a fire together. But the difference is we're coming together, this network of people. So we're going to leave our mark. We're going to create our legacy. We've got a burning desire to do it. I know you will have. I know you will have. Why would you be on this call if you didn't? And sometimes though, when you have all this specialness and all that energy, all that power, sometimes maybe it doesn't come out right. Sometimes it can be all over the place. And if I look at my own career, did it always come out brilliantly and perfectly? No. You know, a lot of this passion and energy can come with frustration, because you want it bad, you want it now. And so your focus becomes insular. You start to push other things out, and there's nothing wrong with that. You've got to be obsessive, guys. How bad do you want it? That's the question. But your energy can sometimes start to turn in on itself and start to erode what makes you special. And how easy is it for frustration to turn into anger, and for all that passion to be misdirected? And your own energy, because it's so amazing, can also be so destructive, real destructive force. It can lead you to the wrong destination. I've had successes, I've had failures, but they came about not because I lacked the drive or determination to get there. They've always been there, guys. They always have. They came about because I was failing to be myself and true to my values. That's the truth. I didn't really know myself. But once I did, and once it all slotted into place, I was able to move with conviction and strength. And I think that's the journey, isn't it? It's getting to know ourselves so well that we have the confidence to push it out there to everyone. and know how we're going to be received and adjust ourselves and control the situation. That's very much what I do. So whilst we're talking about some quite formative stuff now, guys, the future is going to be, we're going to be talking about psychology, analysis, how you deal with people, how you get them to trust you because you know you can do good for them. Because it's frustrating when you know you've got a great product, you know you've got the motivation in the right place, but someone says, oh, you're just a salesman. I've dealt with that. I've dealt with all that. This is high level stuff. We're going to deal with all of that in the future. I'm going to teach you guys everything, honestly, everything I've ever learned about how to disrupt, to change the game, and to make a difference in your own lives and other people's. You got to think about this, guys. At any time, you need to be able to sacrifice what you are for what you will become. Write that down. At any time, you need to be able to sacrifice what you are for what you will become. That idea of your future self is exceptionally powerful, exceptionally powerful. Think about how grateful that future self will be one day when you achieve your vision, your goal, your dream. Think about one day when you meet that future self. Tears will be running down his eyes and he'll hug you and he'll thank you for going through all the hardships, all the difficulties, all the challenges to meet that journey when you finally became him and you can meet that person. It's a powerful image, guys. So think about your future self. You need to, you need to be able to sacrifice what you are for what you become. And think about why I didn't say who. Think about why I didn't say who. I didn't say who because genuinely I believe the who is locked in. And I believe our journey is a journey of self-discovery to understand who that real person is. But more than that, to tear down the layers of BS that exist in this world so we can show the world who we are without embarrassment, without thinking I've got to be someone else's vision. I don't want to be a round peg fitting into a square hole, into a square box. I want to create my own hole. Do you know what I mean? So who you are is locked in. And who you are has brought you to this place in your life. This phone call, this opportunity, these people, me, Nathan, AJ, Grizzy, all of you, we're on a journey. We've got the best product, of course, but more than that, we've got the power of collective belief. And I think it goes without saying, I'll be 100% honest. I'm not spiritual. I'm not religious. But my power of belief, of certainty, of determination, that's what's got me to where I am today. I believe that's where it's got most great people to where they are in their lives. Because ideas come and go. It's the people and the determination that's going to get them there. So that's all the good stuff, guys. I mean, that's the nice, jushy, mushy stuff. You know how it is. We've got to talk about the other stuff as well. The idea of all this pain that we go through, that we're potentially going to go through, it's secondary. It's actually secondary to the pain that you would be in. If you have that energy inside of you and that drive inside of you and you don't fulfill it and you give up, is that something you could live with? Something I couldn't live with. Guys, I've been knocked down many, many times. I really hope to God that everyone I work with has had the same scenario, because if not, you don't know about what's going to happen next, because it's going to happen again. And those knockdowns, whether big or small, are not the measure of someone. It's how you react to them. And when you get knocked down, you need to get up. So that frustration, that fear of pain that we fear about facing, that pain that we fear, let me tell you, there's going to be more pain than you can possibly imagine that you've got to live with and you've got to die with. Because guys, let's be 100% honest, we're all going to die. We are. There's one thing that's certain, is we're all going to die. Question is what you're going to do between now and then. If you fail to try, I don't believe you'll live with yourself. I really don't, because I know I couldn't. You won't be able to live with yourself. I know, I've tried, and it just turns in on yourself. But guys, changing the game. Let's ratchet it up a level. Let's go academic style. Let's give you a presentation, right? So remember, anyone who's on the call, as I said before, we are going to give 1 hour's free mentoring from myself. And normally, guys, I charge about £500 for that. So I think that's awesome. I think that's really good. And do you know what? I wish I could give more, and maybe I probably will. So let's continue this, okay? Let's burn this fire. Let's make it strong. Let's learn something. you know, and then we're going to go forward and we're going to change the game. So I am going to now share my screen. 1 second, and going to show you this presentation. Right. Guys can all see that. And as Nathan very cleverly did yesterday, I'm going to turn my camera off as well. I think that's a stop video. Yeah. Right. So you can't see me, so you can concentrate just on this. And this really, guys, is a little bit of a look at changing the game. And it all comes, for me, a little bit of looking at the people in history who have done that, who have changed the game. And for me, the mission to put a man on the moon in the early 60s of the last century was something that most people, certainly any of us, we weren't around then, but something that most people could not believe. And none of us were around to see the awe and amazement that it caused in people's minds as well. But can you imagine, you know, people were barely going between continents. Okay, maybe they were in the 60s a bit more, but they were leaving our atmosphere and they were going to the moon. I think that's incredible. It really was a game changer of epic, epic proportions. And that's wonderful, you know, I think that's great. But the actual moonshot, it was wonderful and inspirational. It was poetic. It was beautiful. It was all these challenges brought together. It united people across borders. It brought the world together. There were great technical challenges and there was genuine heroism. And think about that Polynesian in a dugout boat who's just decided he's going to set out, deciding one day, I'm just going to go that way. No one had ever been that way before. No one even knew if there was anything that way before. It was amazing. It was courageous. And it changed the world. People could set their mind to magical, seemingly impossible ideas, guys. And then through the science, technology, and all of that strength of belief, they can bring them to reality. And then that sparks a flame, and that sets other people on fire. And other things that look impossible can be accomplished. You know, for me, I think about Galileo looking up at the stars and the curiosity that drove him, the unwillingness to settle for what he considered possible. Can you imagine that? The curiosity, the amazing thing that he and humanity has driven himself to invent, the work on the first telescope. It's incredible. It's allowed us to see all the way past the moon, guys, and way beyond. Literally, his curiosity has driven us way past the moon, literally galaxies away from where that little tiny idea started. Humanity is something so special. The Wright brothers and other pioneers of the aviation era, there were more than just the Wright brothers. In fact, they were just the first to do it. But they were just figuring it out as they went along. No one actually knew how to build an airplane. Did you know that? No one had a clue. No one knew how to fly an airplane. That was amazing. It was crazy. And they wanted to explore. In 1962, Kennedy gave a speech to a university and he said, listen, many years ago, the great British explorer, George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, was asked, why did he want to climb it? And he said it because it was there. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. There's so many challenges in the world, guys. You can either be overwhelmed or you can be daunted by that. Or you can say, how might we think differently about this? Everyone in the world is working for that extra 10%, everyone. But if you're the one that can deliver that 10% improvement, that 10 times jump up, you've got a chance to really change stuff. If you want to run cars at 50 miles per gallon, no problem. You can do that. You could probably retool your car, set it up fine, no problem. But if you wanted to run that car at 500 miles per gallon, you would have to literally start over. You know, you need courage and you need huge amount of persistence. And one of the things that's really critical is not only having the courage to try every day or thinking big, even if you don't think it's really possible. Like maybe you think it might be possible, but you've got to have the courage to try, because that's how many of the great things have improved. It's a fact, guys, you're not spending your time sitting there bothered about the fact that you cannot teleport from here to Brazil, because there's a part of you guys that thinks that's impossible. Changing the game is choosing to be bothered by that. Humanity's progress has been a series of audacious, amazing things, from the very small and personal to the very big and grand. And we're a species of game changers. And to me, that is the really amazing and poetical and special thing. Our ambitions, what we consider possible, are simply a glass ceiling in what we can accomplish. When you find your passion, guys, you're going to be unstoppable. And then amazing things are going to happen. Things that will change the world. And that's been true throughout all of history. I believe in the human spirit. I seriously do. It made me believe in what's happening now, what's happening all around the world, what's happened before. I honestly believe there's always going to be people who are going to get out of their bed in the morning and say, you know what? I think I can build a space elevator, and then I can go to work and I can do that. But I think if we become afraid to take these great big risks and we stop inspiring people, and we stop achieving things, and the biggest nightmare scenario is that one day we won't have what it really takes to solve the huge challenges. And Kennedy said he will put a man on the moon. It was about the fact that he said, we don't know how to do this yet, but we're going to do it anyway. And that, guys, sends chills up everybody's spine. Because if that happens, what couldn't we do? So guys, hopefully you can see me back again. We're going to just continue and finish this. So that really, for me, is a look, at changing the game as a general concept, and let me, what's it called? I'm sorry, just turning the screen back on. Okay, there we go. So yeah, we've got to look at changing the game. That's, for me, is game-changing thinking, guys. It's what has created, it what has moved the planet, it is what has made the biggest advancements in our world possible. But now I want to talk about some of the actual game changers, some of the actual game changers that have changed the game and that really inspired me on another level. And there's not many, honestly, there's not many. I'm not one of these people. I don't like Grant Cardone. Why? Because he's giving you an average message, guys. He really is. I like a Gary Vee. He's great. He's one in a million. But there's very few people that inspire me. But the people that have changed the world, 100%, they inspire me, So I'm going to tell you a story. The year is 1993. Can everyone see me? Am I back on camera? Yeah, okay. So the year is 1993. And there's a college kid at Stanford University in the States, and he's pulling an all-nighter. And he thinks to himself, wouldn't it be cool if I could order a pizza using the web? Now, back in 93, guys, the internet was new and exciting. Today, ordering a pizza over the internet, normal, we all do it. But in 93, nobody had been crazy enough to try. So the student wrote some code for ordering pizza over the internet, but there's a problem. In 93, very few pizza companies had email, but they did have fax. Solution, order pizzas over the internet to their fax machine. Pure genius, the student thinks. So he fires up this dial-up modem. If you guys haven't seen that, I'm old enough to remember dial-up modems. Fires up his dial-up modem and faxes his order. And he waits. He gets hungry. And he waits some more. He gets hungrier. Until the starving student finally calls up the pizza place and says, so, I internet faxed you, about 4 hours ago. And she goes, oh, great, let me go and check the fax machine. That crazy idea he had, which had seemed brilliant, totally failed. If you ask that student today how he feels about what happened, he actually says he's glad he failed. Because he says he's learned the following. I want you to listen to this. A challenge shouldn't relate to how likely you are to achieve it. Even if you fail, the side effects can be that much more rewarding and significant in their own right. A challenge shouldn't relate to how likely you are to achieve it. Even if you fail, the side effects can be that much more rewarding and significant in their own right. Because it's very possible that fax would have been picked up that day. And that student would have put a lot of energy into his great pizza by fax idea, instead of his failure piquing his interest in orchestrating data on the internet and leading that college student, Sergey Brin, to create Google. So, humanity, guys, incredible. Leaders are on a mission to create the world to do three things, in my opinion. They want to challenge the impossible. I want you to write this down, guys. Challenge the impossible. They want to deliver meaningful benefits. And they have inspirational destinations. Write those three things down. Challenge the impossible, deliver meaningful benefits, and have inspirational destinations. So let's examine them. So in 1983, at the International Design Conference, a young Steve Jobs announces, this is a direct quote, "Apple's strategy is real simple. We want an incredibly great computer in a book that you can carry around with you. Learn how to use in 20 minutes, and we want to do it this decade." And listen, we all know how meaningful the iPhone and iPad have become. But the game-changing thinking back in 1983 was mental. It was mad, bonkers. That man is mad. Fire him. And they did. A great computer in a book in this decade, 1983. His destination, guys, was crystal clear, and it was inspirational. But here's the thing. It took Jobs 27 years to deliver the iPad, but his game-changing thinking inspired him to become agile and so resilient. He was fired by Apple, the company he founded, and he was rehired because he went away and he changed the game in other areas. He went away and he created what is now Pixar. He also created an OS system in an educational computer, I think it was called Next, that was so intuitive and brilliant that Apple actually had to buy him back with the OS for $500 million of stock shares and total autonomous control of his company. And 27 years later, he gets to unveil his dream. But it wasn't that dream that was so special. It wasn't. It was the person who was dreaming it. Elon Musk in 2006 revealed his Tesla master plan to the world. It was called Elon Musk's purpose, and his mission was to move the world from a hydrocarbon to solar electric economy, which back at that time was insane. He told the world his strategy. Build a sports car, build an affordable car, build an even more affordable car. But why tell your competitors your strategic master plan? Why? Well, because Musk's secret ingredient is not his strategy. The secret is Musk's inspirational quests, something that his competitors cannot copy. Remember why quests are powerful. They challenge the impossible, they deliver meaningful benefits, and they have inspirational destinations. Quest number one, they had to beat a Ferrari from a standing start. An electric car had to beat a Ferrari from a standing start. Back then, the idea that an electric car would beat a Ferrari was impossible. Actually, it wasn't impossible, it was ludicrous. But inspired by their quest, they did it. And new quests followed. The quest for autopilot, the quest for electric trucks, the quest for the family sedan, the performance family sedan, the quest for the largest battery factory in the world, the quest for an affordable car. Lest we forget Musk's mission to colonize Mars, to continue the human race. His quests and his game-changing thinking are the reason behind his success. And all our lives are and will be touched by all of these game-changing things that he's done and these great game changers. Everyone I've spoken about, Sergey Brin, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, all our lives have been touched by it. The question, guys, remember what I said, game-changing is whether it's small or big, it's great, doesn't even matter. The question is, whose life will you touch beyond your own, your family, your loved ones? Who else? How will you lead the way, and how will you change the game? So guys, listen, I'm not going to go on for much longer. I wanted to tell you that. We're having a good time here. I'm really enjoying myself. This is fantastic. It's great to be connected with like-minded people. And I just want to say awesome respect to you for all of this, for doing this on a Saturday night. It's such a nice night. But the investment you're making in yourself is going to change your life. That's the truth. So I've got 4 things to create a game-changing mind. 4 things and we're done. And then we're going to give away the hours free mentoring to one person. We're going to change the game. We're all going to change everyone's game, but I'm going to give that hour away at the end of this session. Right. So the 4 things and then we're done, guys. You've got to be prepared to do the things that other people will not do or can't do. Write that down. You've got to be prepared to do the things that other people won't do or can't do. What does that mean? It means swimming upstream. It means doing the things that hurt the most. Let me give you an example. Depending on what gym you go to, the equipment that's usually used the least is the squat rack. Not the Smith machine, that is a nonsense piece of machinery. I'm talking about the squat rack, the safety squat rack. The reason is because you can squat low there with a free weight bar. And the reason why it's not used, along with the deadlift platform, if you go to any commercial gym, those are usually the least used, not all of the gyms, but most gyms. The reason they're the least used is because it hurts. And it's because it hurts, guess what? It works. Athletes, guys, train 99.9% of the time to perform 0.1% of the time. So why are you turning up to perform without having prepared? Who knows Emmitt Smith? Emmitt Smith, guys, I love sport, and so I talk about it a lot because I think, we can learn so much from it, especially team sports. But if you know Emmitt Smith was an American football player. He's retired now, but he's a Hall of Famer. Emmitt Smith, the running back, had a commercial, and it had a fantastic quote, and I'll give it to you now. All men are created equal. Some work harder in preseason. Say that again. All men, let me sort that one out. All people are created equal. Some work harder in preseason. I want to tell you something about being knocked down. And again, sport is for me something that I always reference. And who here is a boxing fan? Unfortunately, I am a boxing fan because it's a barbaric sport, but what can I say? I'm a barbarian. So for me, seeing Tyson Fury beat Deontay Wilder in the second fight was really interesting because it made me realize something about boxing. And I'm not a boxer, I've never been a boxer, but I do a bit of appreciation, let's say. Once you've been knocked down once and you get up, something happens, not just to you, but to your opponent. And you saw it at the end of the first fight in the 12th round when Undertaker rose from the dead, when Tyson Fury got up from the biggest punch in the world. What you saw in that moment was the look on Deontay Wilder's face, and it changed. And he knew, and he was scared for the first time. Come the second fight, that guy couldn't lay a hand on Tyson Fury. Not just that, he was beaten physically, mentally, he was beaten. Because that guy, Tyson Fury, beat him, not with a punch, but by getting up and fighting back. And that's the thing about life, guys. That's the thing. You need to be able to know that once you're knocked down and you get up, getting up again isn't as hard, It's really sad to say, but I know if the worst things in my life are going to happen to me, which they will, because they happen to us all, I'm going to be fine. That's sad to say, because I've dealt with so much before this, and it's taken on so much. But you can deal with anything now. You can deal with anything. And once you know that, you're strong. Doesn't matter about weight, doesn't matter about muscle. The reason I succeeded as a rugby player was never to do with muscle. It was because I had belief. I had belief, and every time I got knocked down, I went back to that belief, that certainty that things were going to be as I wanted them to be, as I knew they could be. I willed it into existence, guys. And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't the first time in my life, or it wasn't the only time in my life. I have willed a lot of things into existence. I didn't just will them into existence. I had to do all the damn things that went with them. But it started with the fire of knowing it could be done. And that the one thing that I brought to that thing was that I am so certain and so focused and so absolutely driven that I will believe it into reality. And I want you guys to do the same, because when we combine all that together, what are we going to have? What are we going to have? Something huge. So, being knocked down. The next thing I want you to be able to do to change the game is looking at things from a new perspective. And it starts with curiosity, like Galileo. It starts with curiosity in humanity, but you need to get smart. There's 2 aspects on perspective. First, you need to be able to put yourself in someone's shoes. Empathy is probably the word. You have to have empathy and you have to have sensitivity in this game. Guys, if you don't, you will never be truly successful or happy. Because ultimately, we can't do this for money. We can't. We have to do it for something greater. Money is a byproduct of our success. But the greatest thing we can give ourselves is a purpose. And that perspective allows us to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, means that when we deliver our purpose, it's effective. It's not for us, guys. It's for someone else. We've got to think about that giving constantly. Believe me, it brings back everything you want in life. The second aspect of perspective is you've got to start with the end in mind. Now, those who follow me will know I talk about this a lot. You start with the end in mind because if you look out at this great mountain in front of you and you want to make something happen, it looks huge, it looks daunting, it looks, how the hell am I going to climb this mountain? You're defeated already. Because that mountain may look like a mountain, but when you get to the top and you look backwards, you realize it wasn't. It was lots of little molehills. And actually, furthermore, you climb that mountain, but hey, there's an easier route up the side. You only know that because you're at the end. So starting with the end in mind is a very, very key thing that I'm going to ask you to do. I need you to think about your goals from the end. And when you plan them, and this is something I'm going to do with all of you guys. When we plan, we're going to bring some crazy planning methods to make sure that we take what's in here and we bring it into reality. When we plan stuff, we're not going to plan looking forward. We're not going to be task-centric, because when you're task-centric and you're planning, guys, task build tasks. We're going to be goal-centric and we're going to work backwards. That's the way that strategic forces, the military, the Marines, the SAS, actually straight from one of the SAS books that I read, it's straight from there. It tells you, you go to the end, you paint the perfect picture, and you build the strategic steps backwards, which means that you minimize the steps that you take. And you can see the difference. If you go and add tasks, task create task, you go forward, you climb a mountain, suddenly you're doing things you didn't even need to do. But it's a very key part of what I do, and it's understanding that you've got to start with the end in mind. And more than that, you've got to cut out all the noise to get to that destination. But we're not going to go too much on that because we could spend all day talking about planning. And guess what? We will. We're going to have a session in the next few weeks. We'll talk to the boys and see when it's going to be on planning, because we need to kickstart this thing, guys. It's not just about talking and making you feel good. We're going to deliver a plan. It has to have a plan. You each have to have a plan. We each have to build a business, a huge business, and that's what we're going to do. So last thing I'm going to say on planning, P. Perfect planning prevents poor performance. Perfect planning prevents poor performance. The 5 Ps. So that's it. That's it. P. We're going to plan, guys. Hack the system. How are we going to do that? That's number 3, guys. That's the third thing you've got to do to change the game. Hack the system. It's a wonderful term. It sounds great. What does it mean? So on the 24th of January, 84, Steve Jobs and Apple launched the Mac, right? And the event was pomp and circumstance and all that, and lots of celebration and fanfare and all of that. But the part of the grand launch that Apple was going to be able to show to the world, that was going to impress everyone so much, was that the computer was going to talk to Steve Jobs during the presentation. And these guys were pulling their hair out in Steve Jobs' programming developer team. They're pulling their hair out to get this done, and they weren't going to deliver it. If any of you know how computer launches work, they don't tend to work when they launch them. They tend to work by the time they actually are on a production line. So the problem was there was no way that this thing was going to happen. And they were basically looking down the barrel of failing because they couldn't get the computer to talk to Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs just turned around and looked at the problem and said, just fake it. Just fake it. It seems fairly obvious, doesn't it? But they hadn't considered that. They hadn't considered that shortcut and the realization that it didn't matter if they faked it for the press, as long as they got it right on the day, which was many months later, and there was a successful launch. But not delivering on that successful launch would have caused the problem. So, hacking the system is not just for, look, guys, it's not fooling people or anything like that, if that's what came across in that story. But what it is understanding that sometimes we load a huge amount of unnecessary protocol or necessity because someone told us it had to be done that way. So we did it that way. A business plan has to be laid out that 500 pages, so you do it that way. Does it really? Does it? It's people who ask questions back and who challenge what people's perception is that will actually be able to deliver the grandiose results that get you far in life. And Steve Jobs is a great example of that. We could talk about hacks on another level. I know when I started my business career, you could not sit in my entrepreneurial career, you could not sit on your computer, massively powerful computer, and create websites like that. But you can. I mean, there's some of the tools we've now got, guys, are just ridiculous. There is no barrier to anything. And I mean, I still see a lot of people making money out there off of doing simple things that you can do with templates, and they're charging £1,000 for a website. And you're thinking, hold on, anyone can make that website on Wix. So whether it's, you know, tech, innovation, shortcut, whether it's, you know, designing adverts on your phone, videos on your phone. I've been building a sales course for the last 3-4 months. The majority of the time I'm now using Adobe Premiere because it's a bit easier, and I've got a guy doing design on that, which is fantastic, and we upgraded it. But for a long time when I was building that, I was just doing it for speed on my phone. Why not? If you can use those game-changing skills to leverage your ability to add value, to create your own value, then that's game changing, and that's hacking the system. So we're going to do that in a big way, So, you know, during my years, I would say one of the things that occurred to me while I was trying to go for these lofty goals, whether it was business, whether it was rugby, whatever it was physically, was that the way that people tended to use their decision-making process was possibly a bit flawed, because you're always asking it from the comparative perspective. You were saying, well, is what I'm doing right compared to that established trainer, that established coach? And I took a little bit of inspiration from a rowing team, which was the Great Britain rowing team, the Great Britain Olympic Rowing 8. And they won gold at the 2000 Olympics. And it's a wonderful story. If you ever get the chance to go and see it, it's a book called Will It Make the Boat Go Faster? And more importantly, they actually created a consultancy company that goes around transforming companies by getting them to understand that when you've got huge challenges, you need to ask yourself very key questions. And the key question they asked themselves, because they had performed at the previous Olympics not very well, they performed at the previous World Champions not very well, and they were tired of losing. So they all sat around and they made a decision. They made a critical choice to basically choose to do anything in their training against the following benchmark. Will it make the boat go faster? And if it did, if it would, great, they'd do it. If it meant it wouldn't, going down to the pub, no, you can't go down to the pub. If it meant, turn that off. Can everyone mute? Yeah. Thanks. I can mute you. Oh, and I know who it is too. I've muted you now. I'm going to get you later. All right. So they asked this question: will it make the boat go faster? You know, should I go 20 more minutes on the ergo training? Yes, I should, because it'll make the boat go faster. Should I cut off training at this time because that's the time we always cut off training? No, I shouldn't. And that's the kind of game-changing thinking that you need to employ. Critical thinking that asks key questions at the right time. Squats, deadlifts, whatever it is, latest technologies, it's the things that other people aren't doing. That's what's important, and that's what you've got to do. The final thing, guys, to change the game is really important to me, because for me, it was the final piece of the puzzle. Like I said, I always had the drive, always had the ambition. But I think I was, for a long time, taking on everyone else's perspectives, taking on everyone else's opinion, wanting to fit into other people's boxes. And you get that. You know, sometimes you do just want to fit in. But when you start to realize that your greatest power, the greatest thing, in fact, stop. Ask yourself a question. What is the greatest thing you'll ever do? In fact, what can you do, guys, at home now? What can you do better than any other person in this world? Better than anyone. What can you do? You are the world champion of this thing. You are the grandmaster. You're the daddy. You're literally, what is this thing? Let me tell you. It's be yourself. There is no one in this world who is better at being you than you. When you finally realize that, you're going to stop apologizing for yourself. You're going to stop worrying about yourself. When you start to know yourself and who you are, the real you, the authentic you, you're going to feel it. Everyone else is going to feel it. And that, my friends, I honestly believe is the key to true happiness. And it's the key to longevity in the game, because if you want to do this forever, which you have to, because this isn't about a destination, guys, forget about it. If you think this is about a destination, you're wrong. Perfection is the journey. It's meeting the challenges. It's getting to that next level and knowing that anything that comes your way, you can deliver. You can beat it. So to do this forever, you've got to never give up. To never give up, you have to be doing something that you love or something that fulfills you. And let me tell you, there is no greater thing in this world than being paid for being who you are. Let me say that again. There's no greater thing in this world than being paid to be who you are. You know, not the guy with money. That's not the happiness. You know, not the Instagram world telling us that it's about money. It's not about money. It's caused by a false perception. This is people who change their behavior to suit other people's opinion of them. It's stupid, if you ask me. Stupid. Let me tell you guys, right? And this upsets me. But there's a lot of people, there's a lot of you out there, not you, but there's other people out there who are trying to buy stuff they don't even want to impress people they don't even like. Does that make sense? So a lot of people trying to buy stuff they don't even want to impress people they don't even like. Why? Because they see it on the screen. It's stupid. My friends, I've come to this room today to talk about a couple of things. Number one, until this room, guys, especially this room, but even the greater community of the world today, you know, the however many billion people in the world, unless we redefine success as waking up in the morning and being happy versus money, we're going to be in a bad place. Unless we redefine success as waking up in the morning and being happy versus money, we're going to be in a bad place. And some of this stuff, it can get very cliched. Oh, I'm happy, so I'll make it. But I'm watching, guys, and I'm telling you, it isn't easy. I'm telling you, we don't think of making money as a talent, like playing football or basketball, but it is. It is. And I think we've got to have a frank conversation about that, because when we do realize that we live in an age driven by the internet that is so underpriced, so easy to access, it's on our phones. Look at our grandparents. They didn't have a marketplace that they could access and they could make their side hustle a reality. They had to work 9 to 5. And when they finished working 9 to 5, the world shut down. There was no internet. But now we realize that. And we realize that talent and making money is a talent that can be developed, and a talent that can be nurtured. It becomes a choice for you. And then we can have a frank conversation about who you are, what you represent, what you want to do, what mark do you want to leave, what makes you happy. Guys, I kind of think we've got to end there, because that moment is, for me, that's exactly what Legion Excel is all about. We're creating that environment to let you individually, your true powerful self, the thing that you're best at, you can deliver with most impact, and you can feel amazing about. That's you, your true self. And we're going to allow you to be that next level person that you want to be. And you can have that belief. And together we can change the status quo. We can challenge it. We can flip the script. And we can change the game. I'm going to leave it there, guys. It's been a really, really cool evening. And like I promised you, I said I was going to pick one person. And I don't know anyone on this call, so I'm just going to randomly pick it. One person who we're going to give a 3 hours training away to. I really hope you have enjoyed this. This is all courtesy of your family, Legion Excel. We're going to be doing this on the regular because we believe in support. And this is an hour. This has been about an hour. Yeah, it's been an hour of value, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed it. You've all stayed on the call, which I think is amazing. So I am going to pick out the name, and I don't know this person. So later on, if I find that he's top brass and I get told I have to change it, I have to change it. But we're going to pick Zubair. Zubair. Z-U-B-R-Y. Get in touch with me afterwards. Guys, reach out to me. Please feel free to connect with me. This is not, how can I say, this is not a job. This is what I do. Okay? This is what I do. I don't have a job. I get to do this awesome thing here, and I'm here for you. So reach out to me, connect with me. I want to make this possible. It's these people, we're the two, remember? We're the two people that came to Mark Zuckerberg's room. And this is a special time. And we're going to deliver on this. This is the beginning of what is going to be huge. So I'm going to sign off now. I cannot wait to train with you, to do some awesome work, to take your game to the next level. Guys, I love you all. It's been an awesome hour. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for your time. Let's change the game. Let's go big in 2020. And Nash is out.